Hi, my name is Shruti, and this video is going to be about just my learning of the book that I read recently. That's The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene, and uh, not doing it as I'm just trying to vent out whatever I have learned after reading this book because. Um, this I think this is the first book that I read was just simply not something that I would read. It's not the sort of genre that I read, or so it was not at all agreeing with my confirmation bias and all of that. So it was just way out of my league. And the reason that I picked this book, The Art of Seduction, is that uh, yeah, I think it was I so I wanted to read something about psychology and persuasion, but someone had recommended that you can try this book. It's about influencing and all of that, convincing. So it's like okay, it read good. The preface read very good and very attractive. So it's like okay, let me give it a try. Okay, so once I started reading it, I mean, even though I am in the business of marketing, I was just consumed with the titles of the with the titles of the chapters. Yeah, it was just too um um persuasively written, too just was just too inviting that you would just I mean, if you are a word nerd, you would just want to be okay, no, you got me there, okay, your word sold me, I just want to read it. So yeah, that happened with me. As like I started reading this book after reading obviously the content, and yeah, so like yeah, so after so the book is about strategies and tactics, and also some suggestions and tips and tricks people have been using since, I don't know, time immemorial, about how to influence, persuade, convince, uh, using all these psychology tactics and all the sort of things that to get what you want materialistically, or romantically, or just worldly, all the worldly pleasures that you would want to get. So yeah, that was about it. So so once I started reading this, it was like okay, yeah, okay, yeah, it's good, and all this suggestions and all of that, the stories were good. It had a little blurbs and all with lot of insights about how people have been using this sort of um, seduction, not just to persuade someone romantically, but also in politics and in business. So that was a good angle. I think all the examples that are given in this book would be 75-25 ratio. Is 75 with obviously the romantic angle attached to it, but 25 it was about how it was used. Seduction is used, and seduction is not just a very romantic word or anything like that. It's just not just, but you can seduce anyone just with the way how you present yourself or how you speak or anything like that. So that was very interesting. And yeah, so there are a lot of lots of traits of how a seducer is. And once I started reading that, I was like okay, I was nodding my head, and then I was like, I was just rolling my eyes like, oh my god, this has happened to me, or maybe I have done this. I was like, okay, was I doing that? I mean, it was just the way the chapters are written. I was like, uh, obviously, I'm not agreeing with all the suggestion. I would never, ever, ever do something like this, whatever the author had suggested, or whatever the narrative was that the author was suggesting with whatever, because it's just it's just too dark. I mean, if you're falling for someone, right, you would not want to use all these short term though it is very alluring, like, it was like so uh, one of the um, one of the things was that, if I think the Casanova or someone did, was that he would try to he was already famous with women because of his ability to seduce women with words and all of that, but then he was never really involved with anyone. And when he truly became involved with someone, that person would not believe him because he had a past record of being such a playboy sort of person. So, I mean, throughout the time you were doing all those things, playing with other people's emotions, but then when the time came when you really wanted to invest in your emotion and wanted someone to invest in your emotions, I mean, you just lost her because of your past record. And but the chapter ended with giving an advice, how you can be like Casanova also, when do this and but really those are not sustainable. I mean, if you are falling for someone, you would not want to do those. This is just too dark. And after reading examples from Marilyn Monroe's life, and Cleopatra, Casanova, John F. Kennedy, who is the president of US, and all those examples, and how they also used all these propaganda tactics and showing an image, seducing any people, and Julius Caesar and Napoleon, and all the greatest characters in history of the mankind. All those things, all those people that you call influence, like really influencers of the time and the stalwarts of their own times, who have been so quick and so witty, so smart, and all the smarty pants and all of that. But after reading all the stories, it was like none of them had a very happy ending story. It was just so painful after reading each and every story. And there were few things that you would want to feel like, okay, yeah, this has happened to me, okay. You was like, okay, this happened to me, oh no, oh my god. And you'll always also feel like, okay, maybe unconsciously I have done it to someone, and maybe whatever their reaction was, I mean, justified. Right now I can't do anything about it, but yeah. So this book helped me understand a lot of about the psychology of how we behave. And we all we so obviously it's like human nature, we all want to be seduced in some way or the other. So I don't want, like, the word seduction is very negatively used, just as a sort of a thing that you have to use it romantically as well, but I don't think so that is true, because somewhere or the other we are always seduced. Your friend are seducing you to agree to their point of view, to agree to go and eat to at certain restaurant and all of that. I mean, yeah, obviously, but I think most probably this word is used very in a negative sort of a way, which it should not. Which this book was a very good revelation sort of a thing, because I always had this confirmation bias of reading books that I always agree with, but then I was not able to get another point of view, and whoever I used to talk to is like, yeah, they were all just agreeing with me. So you don't grow as a person if you're just reading things that you agree with. You have to accept the other point of view as well. So that was one of the reasons that I picked up this book as well, because like, as I started reading it, as I got more into it, and I did my own sort of research. I watched a few documentaries about Marilyn Monroe as well. So whatever stories that were written about Marilyn Monroe, that she was the most beautiful woman, and she got all the roles and all that, but she had a very depressing adulthood and a very sad childhood. And she was, yeah, she faced a lot of trauma as well, which uh, somehow she was trying to shade with all the glamour and the attention she got. But then she had a very, even though she was the most beautiful woman of her times, but then she had a very unhappy marriage life. And all the relationships that she had, it was just the हल्ला बुल्ला बाहर का ऊपर से, but it was just not yeah, it was not sustainable anyway. So and the way that she died was also very brutal. I mean, yeah, that was just so brutal. And yeah, all those stories that you read about, and it was like I mean, the book ended with a lot of suggestions how you can be a manipulator, and how you can use all these tactics to your advantages, stir up the emotions, and uh, stir up the emotion, try to find their weaknesses and all of that, even if they don't have any weakness. But then you have to try, you have to create. I mean, that was just so toxic. And throughout the book, I'm like, no, this is so toxic. And why would you want to create? So, if you are falling for someone, why would you want to bring out their negative sides, or um, even if they have a negative side, why would you want to amplify that? So there are lots of areas in the book that I did not agree with. And yeah, I have I mean, obviously, yeah. So I mean, it's just written, but and the narrative of the book was that, you have to see your the person that you want to influence, seduce, or who you want to do as you want their actions to be in compliance with your own agenda, is that see them as a target. But if you are seeing a person as a target, I mean, that speaks so much about your own psychology, that I mean, that's a just different story. But then yeah, so this book was good in a way that it helped me understand that there are lots of things that so there are a lot of um there are a lot of areas that we would want in ourselves to be better at. And obviously there are negative aspects of ours as well. And all those this historic figures that we praise, they achieved such stardom because of their wit. Julius Caesar and all of that, they were able to influence the mass at that time. So maybe they had an advantage because they did not have the influx of information that we have right now. But then the book also had gave a lot of examples that how even now we are being seduced by the politicians, by advertisements, by any and all the other means, whatever way possible. So yeah, that was interesting to read. And yeah, I mean, um so what so strange thing was that always any book that I picked up earlier was like up till this book, was that there's something new that I've learned, and this is the takeaway, and I want to be like this person and have this trait and all of that. But this is the first book that I think I've realized it now, is that okay, this is the person that I don't want to be. This is something that I don't want to ever implement in my life. This is something that I would never want to do in my life. And it is just held me held my perspective till now, till date, to understand that we are multifaceted. So we have such dual personalities in ourselves. And yeah, it's not always that the book should teach you how to be all the goody things. There are few things you should not always have. You should not always have a takeaway from a book. You should also have a sort of things that you don't want to take away from a book. But yeah, I mean, though I don't agree with lots of content from the book, I found this book very interesting, that has helped me evolve as a person. So yeah, these were my learning, and I just wanted to document my learning because I just need to vent out all these emotions somewhere. Because yeah, just need to vent out emotion somewhere. Yeah, so no call to action as such, but yeah, if you liked it, just grab this book and try reading it. I would love to know your perspective is also, like, if you have read it, like, just tell me what did you think about it. And are you going to imply any of the strategies, or have you I'll not judge you, but or I might, I mean, I don't know. So yeah, this was just venting out sort of a thing. Yeah. Bye.